Very well. From the Nav Center at the Bomas of Kenya, we come back right here at Broadcasting House in the capital city, Nairobi. The vote counting process still ongoing. There was a presser there by IEBC commending Kenyans on how they have conducted themselves. And the word peaceful keeps coming up over and over again. And I think that's a good thing. We had the speaker there even talk about, recite the first stanza of the National Assembly. And I'm now joined in studio by my panelists. We have from my far left, Gibson Gisore, a political analyst and an advocate also of the High Court. Thank you so much for coming, Bwana Wakili. Next to Wakili, we have Millie Lwanga, a governance expert and also a lawyer. And we appreciate that you found time to come and be with us. And just next to me, we have Diperal Kanana. I hope I got it right. Kathmandu.
Dipendre Candle Nepal.
Dipendre
Candle Nepal.
Candle Nepal. So I want to thank you so much for coming to KBC and for agreeing to come and just give us an overview of what you have seen. You're of course an international election observer, and I believe you have observed many elections, so your insights will be helpful. So before I throw it to my colleague Doreen Arangi, who is there. Doreen, you wanna just tell us what you'll be doing tonight? Because tonight we are going to focus a lot on how those numbers are streaming in. So what do you have for us?
Yeah, actually, that is our business tonight. I mean, just after the polling stations were closed at 5 p.m., as it was mentioned by IEBC, except for those areas whereby they have extended, the time simply because of those issues that were in there in that particular, polling stations, either the fact that the ballot papers didn't arrive quite on time or the different underlying issues, so to speak. So clearly that will be a business tonight, Tom, just trying to track the results as they come in, the data, and we're looking at all the various places, that elections have been conducted, ideally just across the country tonight. But again, remember, much as you're tracking the results for you, this is not the final result. Just remember, IEBC said that indeed the media can also, tally those particular results, but they are the ones to make the final announcement. So much as you're doing this just to give you an overview of what to expect, so to speak, or what we have so far. But key in point and to mention is that this is not the final result. This is actually just the provincial result. So this is what we shall be exploring tonight, Tom, just looking at how, also the votes have been cast. That oftentimes we keep talking about the number of registered voters oftentimes does not tally with the number of valid voters. For instance, we had a total of 22.1 million voters in this particular election, but a good number of times you really don't see that tally with the overall number of valid votes. And there's oftentimes quite a number of issues that have brought that forth. Key among them also just being how, Kenyans go ahead and cast their votes, either not marking at the correct, places as it were, or just not turning out to vote. Again, there's also been a conversation out there in respect to voter apathy, particularly amongst the young population. Just going by what IEBC had released, we're talking about 38.97%, which is a total of 8.4 million out of the 22.1 million voters, and that just amounts to the youth vote. So also what we'll be looking at is how the youth vote will turn out at the end of the day. But before we get to do all of that, Tom, with a guest, what more? Tom?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much there, Doreen. And we'll be coming back to you on the smart board just to look at those numbers because they're trickling in as we speak. And she spoke about a certain percentage that I think it was by 5 p.m. there was 56%, 12 million who had voted already. But before even we talk about that, just give me a general overview of your assessment of where we are so far.
For me?
Yeah.
First of all, it's an honor to have such opportunity here in front of the national TV, in front of the Kenyan and to the world. I have some limitations as I'm an observer.
Yeah.
So my modalities are pre-day election observation and voting day observation. and after the counting day observation. So I haven't started the counting day observation, so I'm not able to do any kind of assessment about the counting related observations at the moment.
But we did hear a lot of the presidential candidates, if you followed the stories that we had earlier on, the common thread that cuts through most of the candidates are saying that it was peaceful, it was peaceful, it was peaceful, it was peaceful. So I get a sense that there is consensus, you know, in how we have done so far, how IBC has done. And Millie Mwanga, from you're a governance expert, what are you seeing, you know, so far?
True to Kenyan style, we normally vote very peacefully. We turn out in large numbers and we cast our votes. We did not turn out in as large numbers as we anticipated. I think 56% was not the target that most of us thought we would reach today. But generally, on the very day of peace of voting in Kenya, traditionally it has always been peaceful. The problems are normally before and particularly after. And after the voting.
Okay.
It is now when we are getting to the place when the counting of the votes start that tensions begin. So far it's been good.
Very peaceful.
And I think Kenyans are generally out to be peaceful this time around.
Excellent. Before I come to Gibson Gisore, let's just go back to the Nerve Center, Bomas of Kenya. I hear the chair of IBC is making some remarks.
And as a result, the time that was lost was compensated. The results transmission has started, as you can see on the screen. What you see is the result forms coming in, and already there's a percentage you can see there. And these transmitted forms are also available on our public portal on the website. And I believe the media, the presidential candidates, and other stakeholders and Kenyans at large can log on to the public portal and have access to the presidential result form 34As. And when the form 34Bs will be collected, they'll also be posted on the public portal. And just to remind Kenyans that the Commission has 3 tallying centers at the constituency, county, and national tallying center, which is right here at Bomas. Now, what happens at constituency tallying center? We shall have tallying of results from polling stations and declaration of results or winners of the member of National Assembly and the member of County Assembly. That's at the constituency. And there will also be collation of presidential, gubernatorial, senatorial, and countwoman member of National Parliament results. Then we have the county tallying center, where there will be final tallying and declaration of results for gubernatorial candidates, senatorial candidates, and countwoman member of Parliament. Here at the National Tallying Center, we shall be doing verification of transmitted image of the result from 34As against original from 34As. So the images are coming in, but our returning officers will bring the original forms, then we shall do verification once we receive them. And you can see the desks will be here in the open, 5 desks, and each desk will have the IBC officials and agents of presidential candidates. All the 4 agents will be accommodated here. Then we shall also have verification of constituency form 34Bs against their respective form 34As, followed by collation of form 34C. Then we shall also have confirmation of constitutional threshold of 50% plus 1, and also confirmation of 25% of majority of counties of the votes garnered. We shall then follow with the declaration of presidential results and issuance of certificate to the president-elect. So those are activities that will be in this phase of results at the National Tallying Center. So here we shall have 3 screens running. The first screen is the one you see on the right, which is projecting the number of Form 34As received from polling stations. The second screen will project collected results received from the constituencies, and the third screen will project the county aggregate of all the 47 counties. In transmitting the results transmission system has been configured to send the results only once with one QR code which is configured for that polling station. Persons authorized to be at the polling station include the media, observers, and polling station agents who are allowed to take an image of the Form 34A. And we all must remember that results announced at the polling station are final and cannot be changed by anyone. So that is the exercise we are undertaking. And once the verification is complete, the constituency returning officers will come present the results for announcement. In conclusion, I must mention that the law requires the Commission to undertake verification of presidential election results and declare President-elect within 7 days on conclusion of the polls. As a Commission, we call for patience among Kenyans as we undertake this rigorous exercise, and we also endeavor to complete this exercise as soon as possible. So thank you very much. God bless all of us, and God bless Kenya. Asante sana.
Thank you very much. Let's give him a better hand of applause, please. Then we have Muungano Choir.
Well, that was the chair of IEBC, Wafula Chebukati, walking us through especially operational aspects of the county tallying, the collation, putting together the numbers for all those races, the gubernatorial, the senatorial, the women rep, and also the presidential race, and also touching on the fact that the law is very clear that they, as to declare the winners. And I was in the process of introducing my guests. Gibson Gisore, I'm sure you listened to what the chair said, that in fact the law expects him that inside 7 days that he should have, declared who the winner is. But we have had even cynicals, saying, oh, you know what, it may go over. So thank you first for coming, and perhaps you can, as your introductory remarks, you can just touch on that a bit.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. I think what I've heard him say is that the law allows him up to 7 days, but I don't expect him to go up to 7 days.
What's your feeling?
My feeling is he should do this earlier. He should do this earlier, given that there is no much reason, really.
Yeah. Why do you feel it needs to be right now and not now?
Of course, he needs to do his due diligence, of course, examine the materials sent to him and be able to verify that is his work. So he needs to ensure that whatever is declared is really the true results which he got from the local stations. And sometimes, of course, we have over 1,000 stations which do not have internet, and some of those challenges, those are some of the hiccups we expect him to be facing. Yeah. And then, of course, there's also the aspect of some stations were not able to vote. I don't know what the contribution of those stations will be, like Mombasa and Kakamega. the gubernatorial one, but I think in the national, for the national presidential one, there's no problem. We need to have the results well in advance, as they come in.
And we will be talking about the implications of those hiccups that were encountered, although new dates have been given.
Yes.
But let me come to you, Kandal, as an observer. Wakili spoke about, you know, the interplay between speed, announcing the results very fast, but then there's also the element of accuracy. So how important is it to strike a balance between, yes, you want to make the announcement fairly soon because it minimizes the anxiety in the country, but also you want to be very accurate from an observer's perspective. How do you see that interplay?
From my side, yeah, of course, we used paper ballot system this time, and of course it's a culture of most of the country. They take paper ballot system as well, and if we are using the paper ballot system and we are taking more time casting the vote, I think it's a culture as well, you know, counting the paper, counting the votes, unfolding the votes. Hey, these are the presidential votes, and you counted the numbers. It's a part of the culture of cultural election, I believe. So, yeah, of course, we have to take time, but sometimes it creates a problem where the result, we need to know how long it was for the last election. I was not here, but we need to see that record as well. And I want Kenya or IEBC to come up with such decision which will make more attractive information to the world as well.
Okay, and it's true that maybe you didn't get the opportunity, you know, to observe the last election, but Millie Lwanga, you are here, and I'm sure you followed the proceedings in 2017. If you pay attention to what a lot of the candidates are saying, there's an area where, you know, they're mentioning in very soft tones on voter turnout, voter turnout, voter turnout. Yeah. Yes, broadly they are happy that, you know, so far there's a lot of peace, but you hear them, you know, murmuring voter turnout, voter turnout. What are your thoughts on voter turnout, given that we were told, I think, was it 5 p.m. or something, that we were doing 56%? Yeah.
Yes, it's true, because remember that the voter turnout in 2017 for the first presidential election was quite impressive. I don't remember the exact figure, but I do remember it was pretty high. But for the repeat election, after the court nullified the presidential election, there's been a lot of discourse around the correct figures as to the turnout for that repeat election. And subsequent to that, the talk of voter apathy, and many people being interviewed by media and stating very clearly that they do not see the benefit of turning out to vote, has led to this long conversation within the country for the last 5 years that people are no longer interested in voting. And unfortunately, that point was re-emphasized during the drive by IEBC to register new voters, because the anticipated numbers that IEBC expected to have register as voters was dismal in reality. You would see media covering IEBC officers in the market. They went as close as possible as they could to the people, and people did not go to vote, to register, as voters. So that dismal turnout continued to build up with the agenda or the talk about low voter turnout and the apathy. And remember that this was being seen vis-a-vis the impact on the likelihood of the leading presidential candidates, what the voter turnout would mean to their numbers. and to the ability for them to emerge winners. So that discourse became very, very interesting. So looking at the voter turnout became very key. You'll remember that the last couple of weeks, the focus has been on get out and vote. Get out and vote. It has not been so much of selling the agenda, but on get out and vote. Because depending on the numbers that turned out to vote, the likelihood of the leading candidates securing the numbers that they anticipated was either going to be realized or diminished, depending on the turnout. So that's why we hear, as you are saying it in a very interesting way, the muted discourse by the presidential candidates on voter turnout. Yes.
Okay. Before I go to Doreen, I just want to get Gibson Kisore's thoughts, especially on that question of the voter turnout. What are you seeing?
It's very interesting that you see the people who are keen on people voting are the presidential candidates, but the Kenyans themselves, save for the fact that they were in the rallies, you're not seeing them. Was at the polling station. I never saw huge crowds. That is besides the fact that every polling station has 700. Of course, we have to take that into consideration. But then there is that aspect also in a very soft tone. People like, where should I vote? Where should I vote? Because I don't see any of these people delivering anything new, which I haven't seen so far. So there is that aspect at the back of the Kenyan minds. The economy has been not doing so well. So people are like, what else do we expect from these fellas? They just want to go feed themselves. That is one of those. And then there's also the aspect of, it has been reported that in some stations, due to the confusion about whether to use the KIMS kit only or doing actually the manual register, there was some confusion. I think in some station people ended up not voting. I'm informed of a situation where somebody tried his fingers, was told, go wash your hands first. I mean, he went and went. He couldn't come back. So if there were such situations, that could contribute greatly. And if you meet some people coming back from the station having not voted, you also resolve not to go vote because you are thinking the same might happen to you. So there's that aspect, and it's really affected some people in some areas.
Okay. So there's that trickle effect. Okay.
Yes.
We'll come back to that, but let's see what my colleague has for us on the smart board. And I just want to bring in Millie. Comparative analysis. We are seeing that the number of registered voters went up. What we are hearing from the candidates is that, there's a low voter turnout. So it's a bit of a paradox, right? That we're saying there's a low voter turnout, and yet we have a higher number of registered voters. And my question to you is, how does that, given that trajectory where we are heading, how do you think it will affect the final results?
I think that is why we constantly talk about the apathy that Kenyans have towards voting, because when more of us are registering to become voters, but the percentage of those of us who turn out to vote is decreasing every time, then it is clear that less of us are interested in voting. So it's really is an issue of concern, because remember that in a democracy, you would like as much as possible for the leaders that you put into office to represent the will of the majority. In fact, when we wrote our current constitution in 2010, one of the things that we consciously dealt with as a nation was the issue of who should become president, and must they, because for many years we had a president leading when he actually had been getting the minority of the votes, so that you looked at the number of votes that were obtained by the opposition candidates, and there were more than the votes that were obtained by the then President Moi. So when we were then drafting the current constitution, one of the things we said is that's why we talk of the 50+1 and 25% in at least 24 counties, so that really as you come in as president, it is clear that a good percentage of the country would like to have you as president. So it becomes clear that we are having leaders that less of us have put in office. And it's important for us to have that interest in who we put in office, because then we can hold them to account.
Do you get a sense that sometimes, you know, or let me put it this way, there are issues on one end of the spectrum,
yes,
and then there are personalities on the other end of the spectrum?
True. Very true, because at the end of the day, we have very strong personalities in the people who come and present themselves for the seats that we have set. Take an example of course we are speaking about figures today, but take an example of Wajakoya. He has been a very big personality in this election. He came in and his presence has been felt very strongly. But whether the issues that he has brought to the table, whether the kind of conversation he has tried to steer the country into, whether it translates into voter turnout in the first place, whether it translates into a larger percentage of votes going into his docket or not, is something that we'll have to see.
Mm-hmm. Okay, you spoke of Wajakoya, and my colleague Doreen just broke down those numbers. I think if you look at overall so far what we have, and these are provisional as Doreen indicated.
Yes.
Wajakoya I think is at 0.5%.
Yes. And
David Mwaure is at 0.24%. Raila Odinga is at 38%, and Ruto is at 60%. I understand that we have our reporter Trevor there. I know he has been holding fort for us. He's in Kasarani. Trevor is at the Nairobi Tallying Center. Trevor, thank you for joining us. Tell us what you have for us.
A very good evening to you, Tom, in studio. Well, we are coming to you live from the Kasarani Constituency Tallying Center here. A few moments ago, we were at the County Tallying Center, which is happening still right across this building, this premise where we are right now. And we are witnessing currently, as you can see behind me, nothing much is going on. This is the Constituency Tallying Center. We're informed that currently the main business is going on at various polling stations where the votes are being counted currently. But as of now, this is the situation like. Nothing much is going on, but here I am privileged to be joined in by the constituency returning officer. His name is Amos Nyongesa. I'll kindly invite him to the set and ask him a few questions. Welcome very much, sir, Mr. Amos Nyongesa. Good to have you. We're live on KBC. Okay. Kindly give us an update of what is going on here, and maybe what do we expect to be going on late in the evening.
Right now what's going on, we have tallying of those results in the polling stations. So we are waiting for the presiding officers to bring the results here anytime from now.
Mm-hmm. Maybe you can tell us how the day for you. We can see that the set is already ready, and you are waiting. Maybe in a few moments to come, you'll be very busy doing your tasks. Maybe you can tell us, what do we expect?
Yeah, at least the process was smooth. It was okay. And the technology worked, I can say, around 99.9%. We didn't have any major breakdown on our technology as such. But from the updates we received so far, by the close of polling today, around 57.9% people turned up for this particular election to vote for their preferred candidates.
And is that only here in Nairobi, or is it also across other parts of the country?
I can't talk about other country, but maybe this is just a sample space of the other constituencies. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right. Maybe you could give us an overview of what do we expect to be happening later on here in the night, and maybe at what time do we expect to see the real action happening?
Like right now, the POs are already sending through the KIEOMs that are sending the presidential results. They're scanning those forms, and then they send to the Constituent Tallying Center, county, and the national. So far from my checking, around 135 POs have already sent presidential results. So we are expecting the remaining to be sent in the next 30 minutes. So what we are doing is when the forms are sent, I validate them here, then they are also validated at the county and then validated at the national level. That's just for checks and balances. Yeah.
And maybe at what point do we expect to see now you done with the business and it goes back to the county tallying center, which is just right across this premise?
Yeah, the process of counting takes time. So maybe by the end of tomorrow, we shall be through with the counting. And then the DRO, the Deputy Returning Officer, will take results to the county. That's for women rep, senator, and the governor. While the Returning Officer takes the presidential results to BOMAS, to the National Returning Officer. Yeah.
So far so good.
Yeah, so far so good.
All right. Thank you very much, Amos Nyongesa. We'll definitely be keeping tabs with you, and you'll be telling us more and what is happening during the day. All right. Thank you. Now I want to invite one of the election observers here from the Action Aid. His name is John. I want to engage him and he'll be telling us more about their observations during the day. These are some of the people who are very critical at this particular moment, who are engaged in the observation of the election. Welcome very much to the set side. You're live on KBC Channel 1. Kindly start by introducing yourself and tell us what you have been doing during the day and what you're engaged in.
Thank you so much. My name is John Miano. I'm from Action Aid International. What I've been doing basically is just to move from one polling station to another, observing the status quo. And I can say so far so good in Kasarani. The day has been great. And the turnout, although it was not as expected, was also quite high, especially in the morning hours. Yes.
When you say that the turnout was not as expected, what exactly do you mean? What did you expect? And maybe what did you observe in the morning that you didn't see later on in the afternoon?
There were long queues in the morning, but then around 1 p.m., the queues started dropping off, and we were just expecting maybe 2-3 people coming at a go. So I can say that I felt like people did not come out as expected, maybe at an 80-90% level. But I think what happened in the morning also reflected that those who really wanted to vote woke up early and came to vote.
All right. And have you witnessed any maybe form of malpractice going on during the day or during your observation? And maybe you can tell us, what are some of the parts that you've been surveying and observing? Is it only in Nairobi or is it only in this particular constituency?
For Action Aid International, we are observing in several counties, including coastal and Nyanza areas, Garissa, Embu, Isiolo, Laikipia. But specifically myself, I've been in Nairobi, and specifically I've been in Kasarani. I've been to Clay City, Ward, several polling stations. I haven't experienced any malpractices. The presiding officers have been very clear on their role, and they have been briefing their clerks very well. The agents and the observers also have been very well briefed. And maybe the only challenge that was there is the hanging of the KIEOM kit, which is, of course, technology. Sometimes it misbehaves. And I think she did great, or they did great, because I saw them briefing the teams, and we could wait for some minutes, and then the exercise would continue.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. So far, so good?
So far, so good.
All right. Thank you very much, sir. That is John Miano talking to us about his observing. He's from Action Aid, who are some of the election observers who are engaged in this process. We also have others who are also in this premise. They are from the ELOG, the Election Observation Group, who are also just going around checking what is going on and whether the election is being conducted according to what is stipulated in the Constitution. For now, though, I want to hand it over back to you, Tom, in studio. We'll definitely be keeping tabs with what is going on. We are here. We are pitching tent here, and we'll be keeping vigil for the sake of our viewers. And one of the reasons, by the way, why you should be watching KBC is because we'll be bringing you all of this exclusively as soon as it happens, and we'll be coming to you later on in the evening to just brief you on what is going on. Back to you, Tom, in studio.
Thank you very much, Trevor Ngeno there, talking to both the presiding officer at the Kasarani Tallying Center and also an observer. We also do have an observer in studio, and I will be coming to you shortly to talk to us also about what factors you think influence low voter turnout, because you've had the experience of many elections across the globe. So you'll be sharing with us why you think.
I have been waiting for this question from you since like in 10 minutes. I have been waiting for it. I was just watching one observer. He was representing, I hope, Action 8.
Yes.
He was saying, like, I was not expecting such number.
Yeah.
So he was expecting the name of the president in the future as well. This is against the norms of the election. He's not supposed to tell that.
Okay.
We are the one who are going to present our opinion. We are not going to say it was not expected.
Okay.
Did you get it?
All right.
So this is against it. Number one. Number two, this is democracy. In democracy, 50% plus 1 is the winner. There are so many countries around the world which has 50% plus turnout voter, voter turnout.
Yeah.
So in democracy, it's an acceptable number, number one. Another factor, okay, there was something was expected more. Who was the one who expected? Whether there was the pre-election to find the number of the voter turnout, or was it just prediction? It might be the prediction.
Okay.
So this is the real number.
Yeah.
That number was not the real. That number was not tested with the people of Kenya.
Okay, and I'll come back to you because I noticed you feel.
I'm going to add some point on it. Another thing, registered voter are the numbers who are registered as a voter.
Yeah.
But that number does not mean that they will vote on that particular day 100%.
Yeah, yeah.
That is another point.
Yeah.
Another thing, when we register the voter,
yeah,
after the registration, then only we announce the candidacy. Right?
Yeah.
Some of the voters, they don't like to vote it. That's the democracy. That's the human rights.
Yeah.
How we can use this term in order to spoil the politics of this Kenyan general election again.
Okay.
This is the sense that I'm feeling it. Because administrative wise, IEBC, I have been to so many polling stations, but I cannot guarantee, I do not have, I do not have any observer sitting in the morning, 5 o'clock to 5 o'clock in the evening on that particular polling station. I just go for 5 minutes, see, and take the name of the polling station. So I cannot tell the exact 100% what happened on that polling station.
What happened on that polling station?
Yes.
Okay.
So it is just about, the message I was, it's against the norms of the election. We are not supposed to expect who's going to win the presidency.
Yeah.
It's Kenyan. It's the Kenyan.
Who will
Kenya decided.
Absolutely. And
another. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, because whenever I see some irregularities in it, so I challenge to anybody, election observer, observation group, find some irregularities, then we can understand why we are bringing some irrelevant issue to make the upcoming president with lots of bad images or something like that. End of the day, we are not going to stay in Kenya. Kenyan people will have to face on it. We're going to take the plane and go by Kenya. So we are not supposed to interfere any kind of political observation.
Okay.
If they are happy to share their evidences of the irregularities, then we can discuss on it.
Okay, I understand. And you did mention something about being the observer of the observers. I wonder how that works.
You see, I'm quite aggressive on it as well. Because I was observing his observation.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. And you're very passionate about.
He was not supposed to expect this much turnout.
Yeah.
I told you, registered voters are not the voters. I'm going to vote 100%.
Yeah.
Can you show me that number? No, there is no number.
There is no number. So maybe he gave his opinion. And by the way, we also are bound by certain rules. That
and another thing is, a registered voter are the voters who are registered.
Okay.
COVID happened, and this is one of the developing country. Okay. And in my country, there are millions of people outside the countries as well. Yeah. Sometimes I do not get opportunity to vote in my country as well.
Okay.
So we cannot use that word politically. This is against the code of conduct of my organization, that what I do in the election to set the election if they are trying to spoil other countries' election through political.
Right. Okay, Millie Luanga, you know, from a from a governance perspective, and he brings it out that, you know, there are rules of engagement. Yes. We, the fourth estate, only project those numbers, but we cannot declare because that's not within our purview. But then there is the aspect of we are showing it, and the audiences are seeing the numbers. In fact, we are just updating and verifying our numbers, and I'll be handing over to Doreen shortly. But then there is also the aspect of, okay, we can see it. So there's that element of, you know, are we hiding something that is already in plain sight? You know,
that is why Doreen is doing an excellent job, because every time she comes up with the numbers, she keeps reminding people that, remember, these are provincial, these are not the real results, because there are very many factors that you have to take into account as you project the results. Remember that you're getting the results from your people who are coming from different polling stations. Someone may have, for example, it's been sent in the phone, you may have read a 7 as a 1, or you could have read a 1 as a 7. There could be those slight mistakes that could have been read. And that's why even Chebukati, the returning officer of the presidential election, has to wait and verify the information that will have been sent through the KIMS when the people present themselves, and when they confirm, when the information has been confirmed by the returning officers in all around the country. So that's why it becomes very important, because some of the information you could even have doubled. You know, you could send the same polling station twice. Because these are things being churned out very quickly. And when things are happening, mistakes could happen. That's why verification becomes key. But also for good governance, there is nothing as good as transparency. When you allow everyone to come with the information, and then we shall all interrogate it. Remember that even the 4 presidential candidates have got their agents at Bomas, who will look at those, will verify. They are also verifying with their own agents on the ground. So it's about checking and counter-checking and making sure that at the end of the day, the numbers you have on, you are all able to agree upon generally.
All right, and I'll be coming to Gibson Gisore to also tell us what he thinks about building that robust framework and having an auditing mechanism all the way to when Chebukati will be releasing those results finally. So, Doreen Narangi, what do you have for us now? To tell us, because you're an observer, are those issues that you're concerned about? Because there is the institution that is charged with the responsibility of overseeing an election. But there are those issues of funding coming very late, so it affects planning. Are those things that you are likely to capture when you're doing your final report?
I cannot truly. I have signed the code of conduct on it, and I'm not supposed to touch on that department.
Can I hold that for you? That badge, just give it to me. It's okay. I'll hold it for you.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah.
And I'm not at this stage to. Sometimes I do analyze the politics, analyze the legal issues.
Not really the politics, because this is an open secret that within our framework, sometimes the money comes, yes, but it comes a bit late, and it's likely to affect. So as you reflect on that, let me bring in. Bring in Doreen, because I know you are bound by certain.
No.
You're yet to write your report.
I missed one point when I was explaining about the.
Okay. No, you can share it before we go to Doreen.
Because I'm an observer.
And a strong one.
I cannot. The Kenya decides.
Kenya decides.
Well, it is very sensitive when you speak, and especially in front of the media, like somebody did in front of the media there. If you allow me to take that video, I can talk to IEBC to cancel the accreditation right now.
Okay. Now you made that point.
Number one.
You made that point, yeah.
Number two, here is the problem. I entered the polling station.
Yes.
And I start talking like, why this turnout is low? It's already 3 o'clock. Why we are having only 20%? Why we are having only 30%? These are the messages which has been taken by the opposition who gonna lose the election. These are the points.
Yeah.
That's what the Pendro Candle initiative in this country or anywhere around the world.
Yeah.
It is very important to select the election observer. This is the point that has not been taken by IEBC, and this is the point that I have pounded. Okay. They have to take the interview, selecting the observers. And these days, I announced that my organization going to observe in Kenya. I received 149 applications, sir. I can give you the proof. I received 45 applications from Kenya, Nairobi. I did not take anybody because I cannot guarantee what they're gonna say for my organization.
Okay.
Did you get it? It is very sensitive.
Yeah, I get it.
And we cannot, IEBC next time, they don't give the accreditation just by seeing the documents on it.
Okay.
People are around the world, they are interested to go to the election, take the picture, hey, election, these are the things, they are spoiling it.
I get your point.
That's why I'm observing the observers.
Yeah, I get your point. And that information, I'm sure my bosses are watching, it will also get to the reporters.
And
so that we don't put a microphone
in front of the media,
yeah.
Regarding the voter turnout, it is my department.
Okay.
Political ways, legal, that's a legal, this Kenya department. Yeah. That's not my department. Yeah. But this is, I know, national media. This is the first time in Kenya that I'm in front of this media. It's an honorable opportunity for me, for my life. And these days media gonna take me up and up and up and up. I'm ready to do any kind of debate regarding voter turnout issues with anybody.
All right.
Not inside the Kenya, outside the Kenya as
outside
well.
the Kenya.
In front of the media.
All right, so that we can do a comparative analysis. And I thank you for just reminding us about that. Is the observer of the observers, Doreen Narangi, you had that, eh?
I had the opportunity to observe one of the observers that in the team. 70% turnout in the election in my country as well. I don't like to take that reference and use that reference as well. How did they predict it? Twitter. How can you imagine that the one who messages in the Twitter is in Kenya? Facebook. Can you imagine how many people are using the Facebook? There might be the hackers. There might be the people who gonna spoil this election. Why? Because coming to this country, I got only one point on my mind. Okay, I have to go Kenya. Why? Kenya has sent the message to the political arena this day. Why? Because 2 terms president, Kenyatta, had changed the job. You go and find other countries around the world in this age who gonna leave the presidency, either change the constitution like in Russia. So Kenya has a send message to the world, the new politics gonna start in Kenya. So there might be the hackers. I can debate on it. Twitter, political campaign, YouTube, Facebook. So we cannot predict that prediction was completely right. That prediction might be high so that you're gonna get the low turnout, then it can spoil the election end of the day. You predict something like, oh, my boy gonna get 90%. He's not gonna get 80%. I know, but I'm gonna say 90%. And he's gonna get 60%. Why did you get 30% difference? If I had said 80%, it would be 20%. So there might be the political actors behind it. It is the people of Kenya who are gonna save Kenya. It is not we people. So this is, I'm alerting to the people of Kenya. Because end of the day, we are going to save our country by ourselves.
Yeah, that's true.
None of the country in the world they have made other people
in the world. Okay. Yeah. Let me. Doreen, I need you on the smart board. If my director can display the presidential, the reported forms 34A again on the screen, we have 34,312 out of a total 46,229, and in terms of percentage, that is 74.4%. 0.22% from 34 as in already. The time is 11:28, and just slightly under 25% remaining to go. Yeah, but I like the point that Kandal brought, that there's a way even the education system can speak to, having civic education. We did it in the olden days. It's incorporated in the curricula, so you learn about voting very early when the brain is being developed. So that's a good point you made. Are you familiar with M-Pesa? M-Pesa is a platform for sending and receiving money. It's a very safe way of here in Kenya, and it has won a lot of awards.
But I'm in Kenya. I've been to United States of America, and I'm very good with new innovative culture as well. Yeah. But I still prefer use my hand to eat it.
Oh, to eat. Okay, that's a good one.
I get the flavor.
That's a good. In Ghana, have you observed the Ghanaian election? I don't know whether it's in Ghana
Zimbabwe.
or where. Zimbabwe.
I did it in Zimbabwe.
Where they use marbles. And so it really strengthens your point of culture. It depends on the culture of the country. Let me bring in Doreen to just give us, tonight it's about numbers. Occasionally having a conversation. Doreen, what do you have?
And that's our business. I mean, it's all about numbers and numbers. We are crunching for you those numbers. But before we get to the numbers, I'd like to pick our lead observer's mind, and this particular issue, just still sticking on the aspect of the young people. When you look at the KNBS report over 2019 released in 2020, you're looking at 35.7 out of the 47.6 million Kenyans who form the youth or the young people. So in your observation, even in these elections, I mean, oftentimes we've talked about crowds for hire. We've talked about always the young people being vulnerable, particularly in this election, either when it comes to causing chaos or just a bit of push and pull. So what has been your observation when it comes to that, generally, in respect to young people?
And that question, you've directed it to who?
Our lead observer.
Our lead observer. So what she's asking is, we for example, we did have a report called the Aga Khan report in 2016, and they interviewed young people, all right? And the summary was, for example, they were asked, do you want to get wealthy? And they said yes. And they were asked, does it matter how you become wealthy? And they said, getting wealthy at any cost. Okay. All right. So it's a sensitive demographic. You're not even almost sure how to handle it.
I have another reservation on it as well. We need to choose the sample. How many samples that you are using in it? Are you using the sample with the same kind of people at the same time, or are you mixing with every kind of people together? If you go to, like, I've been to this Kibera. I got this all 15 polling station sent by my office in Kathmandu, Nepal. They are operating remotely. They are checking all the security issues in Kenya. And they're like, you can go, there is no problem. And my driver says, that's a very risky area. I got the information, let's go. I went there without security and all. It's completely secured. Whatever you see on the media, sometimes it's not real. And whenever you choose the sample, if I go and choose that sample, they're going to say, I don't know president, I don't like president, I don't vote. So you're going to use that sample and you're going to bring and you're going to predict the whole country? No. I've been to 13 polling centers, more than 65 polling stations. I can confidently, I can tell you, none of the observer have done that so in this day. I woke up 4, everyone gonna say the same thing, but I had the complete schedule, so I did 65 plus polling station observation. But I did not stay more than 5 minutes in the station. So I cannot tell what happened after that, because I stayed just 5 minutes. I can tell what had happened on that particular time. So it's all about the sample.
Okay.
So you are observing 65 polling stations. That means you are predicting whole Kenya? No, I was within the Nairobi city county only. How can you predict your all? You can say, like, I have deployed this and this. Another important issue. I have observed 65 polling stations. I have not found even a single observing group who has the observer from morning to evening together on the same polling station. It is very important. You have to have the observer morning 5 to evening 5 on the same and get the data, everything. You go 5 minutes and you come out and you observe how this is. No, there was no people. When you go, there was fight. When you go out, there was not fight.
So you recommend that one observer stays at one polling station?
If they are deploying, we are thinking of doing such thing in this country. But telling you the truth, European Union, I think they are deploying and they are doing the observation in this country. 65 polling stations. When I was there, I checked everything. Not even a single observer of European Union. But I cannot blame after that. When I was there, I didn't see anybody. 65 polling stations. Then how can they gonna write the report? Dipendra Kandel is here in Nairobi City today.
Okay. All right, I get you. Thanks for giving us the...
This is all about the sample. What you are going to take it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's about...
What kind of sample on it?
Yeah.
Which city? So we cannot do it. Okay, United Nations, till date, they are thinking of taking the poverty out from the world.
Mm-hmm.
They have been doing so since 60 years. I know. Then why they have not taken that out till date? Why?
Okay.
Who is stopping United Nations to take the poverty out of
from the country? Okay, we'll come back to that. Let me cross over. Just hold that thought.
Who is stopping them?
Hold that thought. Let's bring in Zainab Said, who's at Lunga.
I went to Kibera.
Yeah.
I went to Kibera, and they die.
Yeah.
They have the $1 per day.
Okay.
Kibera.
All right. You know, Kibera is the biggest slum in Africa.
I know. I went to Kibera on my own single.
Yeah. Okay. All right. No problem. You did well.
Because I came here for Kenya.
Okay. Thank you.
Why do I scare here in this country?
All right. That's the observer of the observer.
You have to observe. Observer their driver. Hey, come on, go.
Let's move away from Kibera and go to Lunga Lunga. How he ended up getting the name Troy, and it has something to do with. I just want to use that to ask my final question, something that politicians are very good at. You know, you make a promise, and I don't know whether there are any legal consequences to it. I know that if you don't deliver on the promises, there is the recall clause.
Yes, there is.
I've always wondered, and this is something that I've always wanted to ask, that when you're pitching during the campaign and you're making promises, and you fall short of those promises, on the basis of the fact that there is some sense of a social contract that you have with the people, and we all know what the preamble says, yeah? Are there any legal options? Number one. And number two, and I want to start with you as we wind down, the question of youth. It is said that, you know, leadership is held in trust, okay? But we looked at registration, the turnout was not as impressive. And that has spilled over. And we are hearing candidates saying, even the voter turnout, we were having trouble. And that at the base of the social pyramid, it is the youth. Okay? Because at the top of the pyramid, our demographic is diminishing. The one that's expanding is the one at the base of the social pyramid. So is there a disconnect between the youth and the larger society as we wind down?
Yeah, thank you very much for having me. And as I wind up, I think that one of the things that has become quite clear is the fact that the youth have been socialized a lot more differently than I think the cadre of people or persons we have in the country who are older. And I say this because youth, I remind them, and they seem to be stumped by that I was also once a youth. And we went through the same things and we did things differently. But they seem to have been socialized to look at things a lot more differently. And people say it is the quick fix society. You know, we grew up at a time when it took longer to get gratification. They're getting their gratification instant, so they expect everything instant. And I think that has impacted on everything. I was talking to some of the monitors on the ground today, and they were telling me that you could not go and vote in the elderly queue because the queues were all elderly, you know. So having that special queue for the elderly was not making any sense because almost all the voters were elderly persons. Which meant that the youth in the rural areas were not turning out to vote as well, leave alone the youth in the urban areas. And that is because they do not see the value of repeat following a leader for a number of elections to see whether in the end you will be gratified with what you get. Look at a leader like Kibutha Kibwana, for example. He has lost elections, he has been in, he has been out, people who stayed faithful with him, and eventually he came back and is celebrated as one of the great governors for the 10 years that he has been governor. He is now going out. At one point when he said he wanted to make a presidential bid, people thought it may not be a very serious bid, you know, because people thought he was not ready, despite what they had said. So for those who believe that he is the best president Kenya is yet to have, they would still have to walk with him in the journey for years to come before they can see the benefit of that. And I think this is something that the youth will learn with time. Now, when it comes to relating that to the law, we know that there's a recall clause. But remember that the legislators, who are the ones who craft the law, were very careful to ensure that in the first 2 years, according to the law, in the first 2 years, because it says 24 months of their coming into office, you cannot vote them out, because you must give them time to see whether the promise is being fulfilled or not. And you cannot vote them out on the last year. So you only have year 3 and year 4 to vote them out. And normally we know our court processes take a very long time. So it becomes very difficult to effect something within the year 3 or 4. By the time you're going through the court process, the 5 years are over. So the recall clause has become almost redundant, so to speak. People feel that they cannot use it, it may not be able to apply. And that's very frustrating for many people. But we see that then it reflects in the elections. That is why most of the time you find that 60 to 70% of the legislators do not return. And that is why I remember even in the before we went to the elections, people were wondering when some of the political parties decided to give direct tickets to sitting members. Because people are saying, if traditionally 70% don't come, then what are you trying to say? So it will be very interesting for me to see how that translates as the numbers come in.
As the numbers come in.
Yes.
Wakili, as the numbers come in. And she has brought the aspect of instant gratification. You know, instant coffee, instant results. I even remember, I don't know whether it was one of my nieces who said that she worked somewhere for 8 months. When she resigned, she said, you know, I feel I've not made any impact. Yes. So do you get a sense that there's a generation that was raised for patience, but now we have a generation that is been raised for speed? Yes. So if it doesn't happen now, it must happen right now. Yes. And how do we navigate that?
I think we're in the tricky place as Kenya, or not only Kenya, as the world, because there seems, especially if you look at the demographics, as we have said, we do have, in the rallies you could see quite a number of people who are mostly youth, but now when in the queues of voting, you could actually not see these people, because they are out for the instant gratification. They want to be there, they want to take a selfie, they want to associate with the person who is who is holding the mic, they want to dance to some music, and that is it. But telling them to go queue and vote, that is another business. They say we don't have a contract with that. Then there's that aspect of the Kenyan youth believing that these leaders are not for me because they have not worked for me. And why should I go vote for them? Because that's been one thing over and over. When stories of members of parliament go take like 10,000 in the washroom and then they vote on a bill or water down a bill, those are statements which get to the youth and they get to process them differently as opposed to the elderly. You see, the elderly are patient that there is that one time we're going to get the right person to do something. But these people, the youth, they're like, if he's not doing it now, he's not going to do it any other time. We just need something different. This thing is not working for us. So most probably, we're having a demographic where young people have already signed off. They have already signed off from the discourse of politics. They're just out to have fun. They're just out to live a day at a time. This is a generation, remember, where there is Twitter space, there is things to do with you upload something on the social media and you become a sensation. That is why when Wajakoya was coming, it was a sensation because he was talking different things. And that's why now the numbers of Wajakoya are non-existent, because he had this gratification from this instant gratification people who don't go vote.
But you know, we can't say they're non-existent because it is...
They exist, yes, but...
The final
But the numbers don't exist. The numbers we are seeing, they don't exist. The numbers we are seeing, they don't exist. So I think as a nation, we need, or as IBC and a nation at large, we need to start rethinking how do we capture the souls, the minds of these people. What is it that we can do differently? IBC in the marketing strategies or the campaign or sensitization they have been doing, I think they've not thought of the youth. That is one thing. There is the aspect of youth also going to the election. Pretty much the youth now are actually on phone. If you can't catch them on phone, forget it. Forget it. So technology, if we can be able to harness things of like electronic voting, where in the process of their tweeting and updating status, they will actually be updating, I've voted. You know, that is very instant for them. I've voted instant. That appeals to their souls and hearts. So if we can get to that particular place, that we will be seeing the numbers change differently. Because the results will also be instant. You are voting instantly and you are seeing the results. Those are some of the things which the youth, I think, feel. If this is the election, it's not that. I'm not going to queue for somebody.
That's a good place to leave it. And I get a sense that he's telling us that the next biggest thing after sliced bread is the selfie. And so important to them. So I want you to speak to what he has just said as you finalize, and also tell us, there is something I've noticed about spoiled votes. The number is very, very low. What would be the reason behind that, as you wrap up?
Thank you. I agree to him. We can do the mixed model in the election.
Hybrid.
So
you have technology?
Technology and paper.
And paper.
Who are not educated.
But that's what we're doing.
Yeah, I cannot educate my grandmom, right? She's 95. How can I let her go and do the e-voting system? She has been doing the voting since like 80 years in the country. 70 years in the country. Who am I to spoil her voting rights on the paper?
And impose technology on her.
So we can do the mixed model. So for the innovative people, like he says, who are innovative, like some of them have international education, most of them are abroad, their family is innovative, they can use the technology. But when we use the technology, let's not other people misuse the technology, because technology started from abroad, of course. We are not starting the technology here in Nepal. Social media, Facebook, you cannot control it. Twitter, you cannot control it if you want to control it. No. Even Donald Trump could not control it. It happens. So are we using the technology to save the democracy, to save the economy, to give the voting opportunity to the people? Or later, when it comes with bad result, then we're going to have another discussion. Oh, it was not working. We should go on that way. How long do we discuss to get the right things on it? So I prefer mixed model, so that we can do it on it. To your next question.
Spoiled votes. Spoiled
votes.
Very low.
In this election, I cannot take all the responsibility of the Kenya, but I've been to 65 polling stations so far. In this election, you're going to see very less invalid votes.
Why?
I tell you. It's, of course, it is connected to the voter education. Now here is the role of the observer. Who did that voter education? International organizations, they deployed their mission for maximum long term, like 3 months. Short term of 1 month. Did they educate the voters of Kenya in 3 months? Were they the main player? We have to have one part. Another part, did IBEC played the role to decrease the invalid votes. So we have to compare on it.
Okay.
Whether IBC use that technology or use that innovation to reduce the invalid votes, but end of the day, other observers can take the advantage of it. Hey, we did it.
Yeah.
So we can compare their observation in other country, whether they really decrease the vote in other country as well. So my point at this moment, IBEC has done very innovative work in order to reduce the invalid votes. Why? The first observation gave me sense. I saw 6 different color ballot box. I have been doing the election observation for a few countries. I didn't see that ever. Why the ballot box are different in color? I was thinking, and later I found they matched that color with the ballot paper. So end of the day, that paper, there were 3 members. They are giving 2 and 2, so it's going to be the 6 ballot papers. They give 6 ballot papers right after, and they stamp it, and end of the day, they match the color. They don't have to match the word. They don't have to see the presidential election. They don't have to see whether it was he, it was her or not. They just have to make the color. Okay, now this is white. Do I need to educate my grandmother to tell this is white? So there is a very sensitive issue in this voter education. Whether others are doing it, whether our IBEC is doing it. Are we using others' information to spoil our administration? Or are we not empowering our administration? If we don't empower our administration, we're not going to step in the next election. So my point is, example, presidential box was gray. Member of National Assembly was green. Member of County Assembly was brown. Senator, yellow.
As you wind up.
Woman, member of National Assembly, pink. Governor, blue. So these are the innovations that I have seen and I have recognized. I think most of the countries around the world, they need to take as an example of this.
They could come and benchmark then. That's what you're saying.
Or they can send the proposal to IBEC. Can I have one of the staff to have some kind of system in your country?
I think that warms the heart, just listening to some of those positives.
And I think just in addition to it, this time round, there was a dedicated IBC staff working with the voter to ensure they put them in the right box, which is a plus.
I must thank all of you.
Then there's a wiser chairman who has gone through the experience of time. I think he's now been wise enough to know how to do an election.
At the same time about the technology. We can use it. They use the technology this time as well. For what? If you find any problem on the booth, any problem on the polling station, you have the toll-free number there. You can immediately call there, hey, we are having such problem. And there is the station in the Bomber Center. I visited last night. So that technology, we can use it. To make the people easier, not complicated.
Not complicated. And that toll-free line is actually 1543.
Exactly. I don't remember the word.
And 1544. So in case there's any incident, you can call that number 1543 1444 and report whatever incident that you have to the IEBC. Thank you so much. While we were wrapping up, I was trying to reconcile what your grandmother and that age group are saying, that the youth are coming with technology.
She's been voting more than 70 years. She's the one who saved that country, and I'm there.
And she's used to, and the youth on the other side think that we cannot resolve emerging issues using old notes. It's interesting. We hope that we'll get convergence. We'll get convergence. But I thank you all,
thank you,
lady and gentlemen. Thank you so much
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
So I have to walk to